The Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons says Syria has submitted a detailed plan to destroy its chemical arsenal on time. The OPCW said in a statement that Damascus has handed over its formal initial declaration covering its chemical weapons program. The declaration includes a general plan for destruction to be considered by the OPCW Executive Council. Damascus was required to submit the destruction plan under a U.S.-Russian deal agreed last month. Now, Russia's already handed over an inventory, Syria has already handed over an inventory of its chemical weapons, and international inspectors are probing its facilities. The team has until November the 1st to inspect the chemical weapons arsenals declared by Damascus and supervise the destruction of the related facilities. Well, we're now going to cross over to California. Joining us via Skype is Soraya Sepapur-Ulrich. She's an independent researcher and writer. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV. Now, so far, so good. What do you make of the way things have progressed with regards to Syria's chemical weapons arsenal?
Good morning to you. Things are progressing very well, and Syria has upheld its end of the bargain. But I'm sure that your viewers would know it's not so easy to get rid of chemical weapons. Both the United States and Russia, in fact, signed a treaty in the 90s, and still they have not gotten rid of their chemical stockpile. Admittedly, they had a lot more than Syria does, but the deadline of destroying the chemical weapons by 2014 is very unrealistic. And I think that the United States and perhaps Russia have come to this realization because there are many countries that are even reluctant to participate to destroy these chemical weapons.
Right, but when you put it into context with regards to the situation right now in Syria, the Syrian government is doing its utmost to show as much transparency as possible. And through this, it is gaining a lot of support and traction amongst the international community. How do you see things going forth now that even the Geneva II conference looks in jeopardy?
Well, the fact that the Syrian government has upheld its bargain does not reflect what the others involved in this game are doing. Even as we speak, or at least it was out a couple of weeks ago, that the CIA is still arming the rebels in Syria. And they call them the more moderate rebels. We know Saudi Arabia is still funding funds to the more fundamental of the rebels. And many of the rebels they've set down preconditions. Some don't want to come to the table to Geneva II talks, and some have set down conditions, and they want Assad removed. And that's not going to go down too well. I don't think Mr. Assad is about to hand over the country to a bunch of basically terrorists, because there is every indication, many people are of the opinion that many of the Syrian rebels were in fact responsible for the chemical weapons that actually killed so many people in Syria. So even at that, he worked with the international community, he worked with Russia, and he worked with the United States to keep his country in good hands and to prevent war. That said, the rebels are not of the same opinion. They're not, frankly, it doesn't seem as if they care about the Syrian nationals. They don't seem to care about Syria. So it's going to be a problem. Mr. Assad has established his credibility, and kudos to him. But the rebels have been from the very onset the problem, and they continue to be the problem.
And very quickly, if you can, you would say that no matter how transparent Syria is, the West and its allies are going to continue to try and achieve their goal of regime change in Syria?
I absolutely believe it was initiated by them to overthrow Mr. Assad. And I don't think they're going to give up midway. They would very much like to see Mr. Assad removed from power. And I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't think Mr. Assad is ready to leave his country when he has the support of a vast majority of the Syrian people. He's not going to leave because American Saudis have unleashed terrorists into his country.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Soraya Sepapur-Ulrich, independent researcher and writer there, joining us via Skype from California. It's always a pleasure having you with us here on Press TV.